So over the past few weeks, we've been looking at the question, who am I? Looking at a few different Christian characters in David, Jacob and Moses. Each one of them a bit messed up in some way, and yet each chosen by God, and they go through this encounter with God that completely transforms them and changes their life. So this week I wasn't sure what to do. Do I summarise the last few weeks? And then I thought, well, actually, if I do that, the danger is all I'll do is just repeat what I've already said. Or perhaps if I was brave enough, I'd tell you my story. I'd tell you of a time when I had a breakdown, how I lived many months in fear, unable to function properly, and then many years later, how I encountered God on a ranch in Texas, and like the characters in the stories that we've been looking at, I was changed, I was healed, and to coin a phrase, I was made whole. But I think that's a story I'd rather not share on a video. So here's a thought. As we've been considering the question, who am I thought maybe I'd ask you the question, for you to consider for yourself, who am I? We've considered that you're not what you do, you're not what you have, and you're not what other people say about you. But who are you? See, if you stop for just a moment, if you think about that question, who am I? You see, David, in the current culture of his day, was just a nobody, just a shepherd boy. But you see, it's not what you do. And some of us think that that's us. They think of ourselves as nobodies. But I want to remind you this morning, as we've discovered in the story of David in 1 Samuel 16, God doesn't look at things the way we do. God looks at things differently. And you know, I think to you he would say from Ephesians 2:10, we are his workmanship. Then there's Jacob, trying to get his brother's inheritance. You see, it's not about what we have. Jacob pretended to be someone else his whole life, and you know, we can do the same. It's often called wearing a mask. But you see, with God you can't pretend. Let me remind you of Luke 12 verse 7, which reminds us even the hairs of your head are numbered. And then there was Moses, rejected by his own people and he wanted for murder. And interestingly, Moses, he seems to have taken on board what others said. You see, later on in his life, when he meets God, he comes up with a list of excuses that are probably the things that he heard others say. And he says things like, well, who am I? And then who's God? And then what if they don't believe me? And then he says, actually, I'm not eloquent enough. And then he just simply says, send someone else. But we are not what others or even what we say about ourselves. Deuteronomy 32:10 says that you are the apple of his eye. Galatians 3:9 says that we're blessed, and 1 Thessalonians 4 says we are chosen. So who are you? You're just like David, Jacob and Moses. And God wants to show you how much he loves you and how important you are to him. And you know, he did it in an amazing way. He did it in a way that still to this day astounds me. Because 2,000 years ago, he gave his life for ours. And there is nothing else that is needed. So who are you? You're loved by God in a way that is beyond words because he gave his life for yours. Bless you.